Healthy Business Connect Us empowers families to thrive through holistic well-being, early child development, and accessible healthcare.
We are committed to fostering connections, knowledge sharing, and support networks that enhance the physical, mental, and emotional health of children, parents, and caregivers.
By building bridges between healthcare providers, social services organizations, educators, and families,
we aspire to create a world where every child experiences a healthy and nurturing start.
Setting the foundation for a brighter future.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Max Mitchell with Stay Live Streams, and welcome to the State of Black Louisville. Brought to us together at Roots101 Museum by Richard Whitlock. Today, you're going to hear from a panel, as I move out of the way so you can see everyone, talking about the state of Black Louisville as it relates to a series of questions and statements designed by Richard Whitlock. I'm going to hand the microphone over to Dr. Eddie Woods of No More Red Dots. We'll get started right now.
How you doing? It's important to me because I've been doing it for so long is the beginning point of that. And then I think it's as close as we're going to get to organized genocide, if you will. I think for the most part, a lot of it is not coincidental. A lot of it is planned. But that's a whole nother story. I think it's important to me, again, because a lot of the people I've come in contact with over the last 30 years or so are folks who got promises that I never met, chances that they never got. So it becomes a whole nother kind of a mission. It becomes more than a job, but it's super important for that reason for me.
I was a perpetrator of violence, and I think all of us have a purpose. We just have to find it. And once I reached my purpose, I felt like it was to come back into my community and right the wrongs that I passed along. Mentally, I thought that I was supposed to live and die in my community based on the game that I played, the culture of drug dealing, robbery, and accepting murder as a norm. So I saw how young people were being used to perpetrate violence. And I didn't like it because I wasn't raised like that when it came to OGs in the community. If you were in it, they guided you through it, but if you wasn't supposed to be a part of it, they made sure that you wasn't a part of it.
How you doing? My name is Dre Waters, and I'm here in my capacity as myself, just represent my people, my community. The issue of violence reduction is important to me because, we've lost so many young men before they even got the chance to know what their lives had meant. You know what I mean? And all my life, I wanted to do something substantial for my people and my community. And I believe this is part of my call in furthering my culture, furthering myself, furthering my community. So violence reduction just makes sense. As Dr. Eddie said, this is the closest we get to a genocide. You know what I'm saying? And there has to be something. Lives have to be saved, and we need to be empowered to take control of our communities and our people.
So I'm Kristen Williams with Play Cousins Collective, and when I think about violence, I think of it as a symptom. So I think a lot of times the narratives around violence are utilized to hold up systems that are extorting power and wealth. Think of all the millions that are made off of private industrial prisons. And I think about our youth and really everyone suffering from deep mental health issues and grief. And so I think about what can we do as a community to create collective healing.
Well, it's important to me because the youth and just adults or anybody is our future. And if we continue to have balance, then what would our city look like, right? So it's important for the reduction to happen for our future. So.
Hello, Mr. Barr. My name is Ray Barker. I'm known in the community as Sir Friendly C. And the reason why violence reduction is important to me, as all the other panelists says, is because our asset is and our future is in our youth. And so it's not only important to reduce violence, but to give them options, because in the little corner of the world that they live in, they feel like the options are few. And that's why these great panelists that I'm sitting up here, that's why they're here, because they offered options to these young people. And when you give them better options, they know better, then they can do better. And so I'm proud to sit up here with them because we share the same heart and mind, which is to give these youth options. And that's how you reduce some of the violence.
Hello again. My name is Elgina Smith. I am a peer support specialist and I'm a mother of a murdered son. This work became very important to me when it happened to my own life. And so I want to help families navigate from the next step after becoming on this journey, when they find themselves in need of support. So I'm here and it's important.
Hey, everybody. My name is Levon Clack. I'm running for Metro Council in District 5. I'm also the founder of Prominent Youth of America. Violence reduction is very important to me. I grew up in Village West at a time when gangs was running rampant through our neighborhoods, and we had programs like Whitney Young Scholars, Black Achievers, Build, and all of those programs pretty much helped us grow. So I wanted to make sure that we do the same thing with our programs as well.
Right. Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Hayton. I am here on behalf of myself, but also 50/50 Mentor and Collaborative and the Friends of Nicole Network. Violence reduction is important to me because, as being somebody from Louisville, Kentucky, I have witnessed several crimes, several murders. Working with youth, especially youth inside of JCPS, the violence has just continued. So we wanted to find methods and programs that we can put there for our youth to help reduce it, but also learn it, study it, because it's not just the youth, it's adults that are affected by violence as well.
Right. Donovan Taylor, business, legal analyst, neighborhood advocate, community strategist, and emerging local historian. Violence reduction is important to me because I live in the West Louisville, from West Louisville, and I just want a place where I can maintain a great quality of life, a place that is safe for me to live, work, and play. And so that has been very important to me, as I do, as addressed by my colleague here, that I look at violence reduction on all levels, not just our youth, because it does not only impact our youth. I was a victim of gun violence in my very own neighborhood that led to me be more active in my neighborhood, because it should be a safe place for me to walk and enjoy. So that's why it's important to me.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm Tasha Simakugla, and some of y'all might know me as Butterfly, and I have an agency that helps to cultivate nonprofit and for-profit agency here in the city. Here's my answer to that question. Yes, I have two best friends who are close to me. Their names are Led and Free Spirit. We raised our children together, been through tough times together, supported each other as we built our careers and our lives. But in 2022, my beloved friend Free lost her son to gun violence. This was devastating to us as a circle of friends. One would say, how could this situation get worse? Well, it did. Free lost another son to gun violence in 2024. These were her only sons, and now both of them were gone. This is when I realized that Louisville was not only experiencing gun violence, but was experiencing genocide. Now, this SHIT is getting real. I just want to say genocide is defined as the deliberate and systematic destruction of a group of people, in our case, our beautiful young black men, because of their ethnicity, nationality, religion, or race. That's my response.
Yeah, gosh, it's been quite a few. And if we're losing 100 a year, I'd say probably about 50 or 40 of those are people that have either been through our programs or I've known personally, or I've known in some level of contact with almost all of them. I had a cousin that was killed at 32nd in Virginia back in 2010. And I could go down the list of some family members, but primarily every time we lose one, it's ours. It doesn't have to be somebody who was born of the same blood, but they're still ours. That's how I view it. I've always viewed it like that. At some point, you get tired of going to funerals. You get tired of crying about it. But it's never the same. No matter how many times it happens, it's never the same. And it's always somebody that's close to you. If you're doing this kind of work, it's always somebody close to you.
Well, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Demetrius McDowell. I'm the CEO and founder of Bosses Not Bangers. I'm a community activist. My homeboy BB, and it's divided the neighborhood because back in the day it was Bloods and Crips. But if anybody's familiar with his story, it was some Crips and Bloods that congregated together to have him killed. And with that, it let me know that that hood that I was representing wasn't so loyal as I thought it was. So that's the first incident that really, I guess, had me numb to understanding of what it is this is about. I always say, shit, he died the way he lived, you know, and I found myself being numb. And in this work, I lost two individuals. One could have never seen it coming because he just wasn't that type. And, you know, I guess Dr. Eddie Woods or anybody else can say, this one right here, he's different. Right. Just like older people in the neighborhood probably told you or any of us that we were different. And I never seen this coming, but he also hustled. So all of it comes with it. And but he wasn't an aggressor. He wasn't one that started nothing. He just wanted some money. And coming from the culture, the hood, we're not gonna tell him that's wrong. We're just gonna tell him don't kill nobody to get it. And then there was an incident to where a young man, after being in my program, was killed 3 o'clock in the morning in an alley. And this goes back to the help being attacked. So it's hard when you trying to work with an individual and the home front ain't right. So we can program them and give them something to work with, but when they go home, they deprogram, and you only got them for so many hours in a day. So those are my two incidents. One really hit home, and that's been the 3.5 years that I've been involved in this work. I can say those two, because I had hope for one, but I didn't see nothing coming with the other one. I never saw it coming. So.
I lost several individuals, as many of our panelists had, over the past few years. When doing work at Minor Daniels and some of the alternative schools, young boy be at the program Monday. When you come back through Wednesday, literally not there. I had a situation where that happened with a young man, got really close to him and everything, and he was texting me one day, and then one of the other guys that I was facilitating the program with was asking me, was it this young brother? And he just hasn't texted me back since. That's a lot. We lost Daywan up East End. We've lost Kieran, my big brother Kiani, and even out throughout my life, my uncle, countless friends, and all of it plagues me. I'm a person that feels, so all of it took a toll on me. You know what I mean? And it continues to take a toll on me. I still go through it. And some people that we lost that didn't necessarily die to gunshots, but they lost to what the streets do. You know what I mean? Whether they was gangsters, hustlers, whether it was the drugs, whether it was a car accident when you're going and you're serving drugs, all of those things that what the streets do, I count all of them as, you know, losses to this game that we have played and seen so many play that we tend to lose.
So when I grew up in like off of Nation Lane, out like near Newburgh, Breckenridge Lane. And when I married my husband, I moved to on Northwestern Parkway. and he had inherited his house from his mother. And I thought to myself, like, wow, this is amazing. I'm in this beautiful community. I had just had a baby, and I saw my neighborhood as creative, resourceful, and whole. Like, there was an abundance of nonprofits and Black businesses. And I started early mapping out where I thought my child would be able to be safe. Um, I really felt like the narratives that we heard on the radio, we know that people are dying. But I also think that people are utilizing those narratives to fuel the continuation of violence, to make the land less less expensive so that they can purchase property, right? All of those narratives and all of this suffering goes into the ability for them to extort that power. And I didn't want my child to grow up thinking that that was true. You know, I wanted them to really normalize being in a village full of people who are powerful. And that is true, right? Like, we do live in a community. Look at this panel. You know, we have warriors up here who are fighting, you know, for our children to have a future. And I wanted my son to normalize that. And so at Play Cousins, we're building a village around our children where we have parent support groups so we'll come together for caregiver conversations, and we'll talk about the developmental milestones of our children. But we break out into groups based off of the ages of your children. So if you have teens, we're talking about communication. What are some issues we're having with communication, right? Building out relationships with other parents so that we can provide mutual aid to one another. And really, a lot of our work has been to just create systems for ourselves, because every system where Black folks are supposed to be being served, you see that we're being harmed. So a lot of our work this year has been looking at CPS and how we can learn what our rights are if CPS knocks on your door. You know, how do you navigate the school system? How do you advocate for yourself in the doctor's office? And when it comes to mental health, we have Black therapists who are in our space. So parents can come, and children and teens can come to Play Cousins and see a therapist. And while they're there, if you have children, you have free childcare. So really normalizing what we call ancestral methods of healing and resilience. That, I don't know, I got like 2 minutes. This is the thing that I really like to talk about, is that the one thing you'll hear me talk about all the time is that there are white supremacy cultural values, and then there are communal cultural values. And the communal cultural values are the reasons why we're still here. Black folks have always loved each other. We play cousins. We're going to create fictive kinship out of whatever you got. Whatever you get me, I'm going to make the most of it, right? And so in that same tradition, where we see that therapy is an ancestral method of healing and resilience. I would have gone and got a reading from somebody, or I would have sought out an elder, right? This is my thing, right? Connection to the land, that's my thing. So really reconnecting to the things that belong to us to preserve us, and recreate systems so that we're not playing into the narratives of somebody else that then we're now suffering from.
Councilwoman Hawkins, I want you to share with us somebody that have you lost anybody that was close to you in a murder type violence situation?
Yes, I've lost a multitude of people. I want to say that I've been with the California Jets for over 20 years. That was right in California Park before they moved to Algonquin. And through the years, I never took my hands off of that program. And I lost several young boys, that was affected by gun violence. But where it hit home at for me was Kelsey Small. That was my niece, who got shot in the East End. And she was giving someone a ride. And apparently some of the guys that she was giving a ride to, normally, she was real close with a lot of her friends that she grew up with in the East End. And, they didn't have no picks. It used to be that young girls, kids, mothers was off limits. Well, when it hit home, it let me know that at this time, nobody's off limits. And That's when it really opened my eyes. And that's why I say pretty often that let's not wait until it hits our front door before we want to get active, right? So it really affected my sister, my family. It was a life changer. So yes, I have.
Got another question for you.
Sure.
What would you say, we already know you're a councilwoman, but outside of you being a councilwoman, some of the things you're doing around the community, I'd like for you to share. What are you doing currently to about the violence in our community, other than you being a councilwoman?
Okay. Well, what I'm currently doing is I am trying to bring a different there's a lot of nonprofits, right? Everybody has their own agenda on what they want to do, right? But bringing unity, bringing the different areas. I'm going to use the example of the Dirt Bowl. You have a multitude of teams that are from different areas. Bringing those different areas of people together in one room and having hard conversations. There is just not one solution to the issue that we have right now. There has to be a multitude of solutions, not just one. One is not going to be effective for this group or this area. You have to have a different views, different opinions. And what I'm learning is that it is really hard to get, because when you have a group of leaders in one room under one roof, it's really hard to get everybody to come to common ground, right? Everybody feels like that their solution is the solution. And that's really just not it. We really need everybody's solution, because at least if we can change one person's life from one solution that we got out of a room with a multitude of people together, then we can begin to make a difference. So that is what I have been trying to do, and that has been a huge obstacle. As far as from a council person standpoint, I want to be able to work with everybody individually, but soon we're going to have to come together as a unit, right, as a city, to be effective and in order to be efficient and be able to be receptacle to what everybody think that their solution is to what we call violence.
That's the first time I ever heard the Dirt Bowl, and because of violence prevention, I think that's a great idea. That's the reason why I'm repeating it. Mr. Barker, what are you currently doing to reduce violence in our community?
First of all, I constantly had to reinvent myself. When I was a police officer, I had a youth corps called the Surf Friendly Youth Corps, and we monitored these young people from the ninth grade until they graduated. I'm proud to say out of 1,000 kids, 98% of them graduated. One we sent to another state because he had a contract on his life, and one did get killed. And I've been into the gangs where this was when I was an officer, and told the gang leaders, hey, this one is under my protection. And the gang leaders not wanting beef with the police, let that particular youth go. As I've gotten older and retired from the police department, I see myself as a unifier. We heard Miss Tammy talk about unity. It's all about unity. We cannot save any of these kids if we can't unify ourselves as leaders. And that's for when I go and talk to the leaders that I see present, that's all I preach to them. I tell them that they're doing a good job, and I offer my services to the next generation coming up, because I've lived this long, because God has imparted a lot of wisdom to me, and it's my responsibility as an elder of this community now to impart some of this wisdom back to them. But as I reinvent myself, my job now is to be a unifier and help the generations behind me help their vision to become a reality and help them to save as many young people as they can. And I want to answer one more question. My sister was murdered while I was on the force. She was murdered by her husband. So violence has all types of shapes and forms. It don't always come in a gun or a knife. He killed her because she was trying to divorce him. And I was the last person my sister heard. I called her when I got off from work at 8 o'clock that morning. I said, I heard Eric came over to your house acting on butt. Do you need me to come over? And she said, no, big bro, go home, get some rest. That's the last time I talked to her because he killed her after that. So violence comes in all shapes and forms, and it still affects me today. That's why I'm an advocate of nonviolence in any form.
Okay, cool. So currently, I'm doing different things. Like throughout the year, we do programming. One of the programs that we're doing right now is in Park Hill through the Get Busy initiative. Last year, I was in Park Hill doing facilitating a program over as well. And these young kids, at the end of the day, they don't really want to talk about violence or what adults think about violence, and we're collecting data about violence and things like that. They mostly want to be empowered. So that's what I do. I empower young people. So we teach them transferable skill sets that they can utilize to go on to post-secondary education. They can be entrepreneurs. They can go into media and broadcasting. So that's how I look at it for real. It's more about empowering the young people, actually taking the time to listen to them and what they have going on, and not really focusing on necessarily violence prevention and talk to them about their community and how they're growing up and things like that. It's more so about finding out exactly what they want to do and making sure we provide the tools and resources to help them acclimate.
Well, Ms. Smith, I want to ask everybody this question. So it's just the three root causes y'all think, because I want everyone to see the variance of answers. So the question I want to ask everybody on this panel is, what are the three main things, the three root causes of violence in your opinion?
Wow, this is a good one. The three main causes I feel are strongly parents not being the first person to be that child's advocating voice, or the disciplinarian. And I say both of those because you have to advocate for your child. If they're in the school and they're getting bullied, you need to be at the school talking to the adults that are causing the children to have, parenting is one, and then also relationship, community relationship, knowing who your child is in relationship with. First and last names, going and visiting that child's home if you're going to let your child be there. And the third one is seeing the behavioral changes in your child. If your child begins to act, if we all have the good kid, where's the bad kids coming from? So seeing where that is stemming from. So if your child has a U-turn and they're starting to be disrespectful, they're starting to act out, they're not doing the things that you have brought them up and taught them to do, then that's the third problem.
I was three root causes. I would say poverty, education, and resources.
I would say unhealed trauma. Unhealed trauma and lack of trust and mentorship. I definitely would say our culture normalizing violence online and social media. I would definitely say the economic inability to provide jobs and career readiness programs. And so those are my three.
I guess my three root causes of community violence would be family, community structure, education, and economics.
My three are this. Number one, a lack of resources. Unfortunately, in the city of Louisville, there's endemic poverty and oppression. No established set economic base to draw from. We don't have a black community like we used to have on Walnut Street, like black schools, business districts, black stores and industry. We don't have that base. And then a lack of substantial black male ownership and leadership. Black men need to be able to lead in this city, not work in offices up underneath superiors, but they need to be superiors. I think we need that in our community. So, yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Edwards, what would you say the three
I'd say a lot of our people, particularly our young people, don't have anywhere to process their day. Nobody actually asks them anything other than just um, how you doing or whatever like that, and they accept all right as an answer. The other thing is accountability. Adults have failed miserably at taking the responsibility of teaching the child how to move. So what ends up happening is the child learns how to move from somebody who don't know. You know, and then finally, I think it's an age-old thing of a sense of purpose. You got to feel like you got something that you're doing to contribute. And if we don't take the time to teach a person how to contribute or what they can do to contribute, they're important enough to teach it to, then they end up doing like they do.
Street mentality culture, the culture that tells you to rob, steal, and kill, the culture that tells you meet aggression with aggression, the culture that tells you to kill somebody that disrespects you. Economics, like Dr. A.D. Wood said, if you really had something to go out and do and it was earning you a living, then you have something to lose, and they don't really have anything to lose. And the third, I had it on the tip of my social media. It's the new culture. It's the new streets. It's chats. It's not blocks no more. It's emotional development. You can't take a joke. Your mama jokes will get you killed today, and they just not. They're brittle. Mental health is really an issue right now. Emotional development, and that'll be it.
Like Michi said, some of our cultural misconceptions, some of the things that we've passed on generationally through years and years, meeting aggression with aggression, the street life, lack of accountability on parenting, lack of accountability with leadership, because a lot of times, even in leadership, when the people ready, the leaders ain't ready. Everybody's bickering over who name matters the most. You know what I mean? And those things don't matter as much as a young man or a young lady's life. The thing that we all got to have, knowledge of self. You know, just an overall understanding of who you are, what you come from, what you're made of. That's empowering, like Clack says. That'll make me believe that I'm too good to die young. That will make me believe that I'm too important to take life. That's kind of how the thing ended up for me. You know what I mean? Once I learned that I had the power to take it, ultimately I chose not to. I chose to feed the God in me rather than the worst in me. And that was just because I was empowered young. And of course, we're gonna say the same things. Economics, we're gonna always deal with that. And then social media, man. Social media is a driver. The attention seeking, the lack of emotional intelligence that comes with it, because of the things that we had to do when we grew up. You know, it was different making a book report. You had to know the Dewey Decimal System. You had to go through some things. You know what I mean? You had to go to the library, grab that encyclopedia, read, get it wrong, and then go grab something else. That built up resiliency. That gave us character. All of those little things, those menial things, those things matter. So knowledge of self, man, our cultural misconceptions, and our economic background.
Okay, disconnection, economic insecurity, and unhealed trauma are my three.
Resources, lack of knowledge. Knowledge gives you power, and social media.
Mr. Barker, three main root causes. And the reason I asked this question, and I wanted all of you all to ask it, is because I want the people that's turning in to see y'all brilliance and y'all genius. So, like I think what we just now seen, and Mr. Barker's gonna add on to it, we just displayed that our genius is here, y'all.
My first one is false indoctrination. The media and everything about this world is painting a false picture of us, and we're bought into that. I heard a lady the other day said about the neighborhoods that I love, if you don't live down here, don't come down here. And she was on the news, and she lived in the neighborhood. So that false indoctrination is one reason for the violence. My second reason is mental. I am a U.S. Marine. I've seen Marines die. It has affected me my whole life. My young brothers and sisters are seeing their friends and family die, and nobody's addressing that mental pain. Hurt people hurt people. Somebody's got to stop long enough to address the pain that these young people and older people are experiencing. It's real. And then my last thing is lack of spiritual support. A lot of people don't want to say God anymore, and I'm okay with that. But in police training, they teach us in our training to believe in somebody bigger than us to survive a shooting. So if they're teaching this to the police, what are we teaching our young people? Oh, don't believe in that old stuff there, because that's old stuff. I'm telling you what works.
Ms. Smith, I've been knowing you for a while, and I want to ask you this question about the Office of Violence Prevention, because this is something that we do have in the city, and I think it's something that we really need to talk about in the violence reduction panel. I just want to know, what kind of grade would you give the Office of Violence Prevention? It's been in existence for 13 years. It was formerly called Ocean, so on and so forth, right? What kind of grade would you give the Office of Violence Prevention, and why?
You would put me on the spot first, so okay. So we're going here. I would give them an honesty because it is currently operating, but to the level of satisfaction and for the need that my family and other families that are in the real reality of losing a loved one, it hasn't hit all the marks. And I know that every plan or every program, has that room to grow. But honestly, it's a C. It's average. It's not going above or beyond, but it can definitely use some people that have lived experiences to actually be the frontliners, and that's my opinion. So.
Mr. Clayton, I ain't gonna ask you this question. He's a subcontractor right now. I'm not gonna say it like that. But back to you. You want to answer the question?
I can answer the question. I can answer the question. The grade?
What grade would you give OVP? It's been in existence for 13 years, and why?
Okay, my history with OVP will have to be in the past 3 years. So in the past 3 years, they probably would have received a failing grade.
So what I say is, would it be a problem if it took you 10 years to even have a relationship with OVP? Would you say that would be problematic as well?
I would. I would, but I didn't wait for them to come find me. I came to create solutions with OVP. I didn't point the finger. I created a solution, and that solution I would say would give them a C right now, where there has been some progress in the last 3 years of partnering with them, but also there's definitely room for change. You know what I mean? There's definitely room for leadership of people that look like us. You know what I mean? And in those spaces, that's basically what we've been advocating for, is to help change that system. And even while helping to change that system, we're in the thick of it. Instead of just telling them, do this way, we're actually handing them the data and the resources they need to do that work.
Mr. Taylor, I'd like to ask you the same question. You've been out here in this community longer than myself, y'all. That's one thing I say about Mr. Taylor. He's been out here longer than me. And over the 13-year span of the Office of Violence Prevention, what kind of grade would you give it, and why?
Well, as a resident of West Louisville and the Chickasaw area and an active resident, I would give it a failing grade. But that comes with a little, apprehension because of you have to look at the creation of that whole office and how it was created. And so is it doing exactly what it was intended to do? And can you only fault that office, or do you have to fault the greater leadership in this city as well? Because many of our black leaders are the reason we even have that office. And so, so that the accountability and responsibility on that office weighs on a lot of people, and definitely it weighs on a lot on our black leadership, many of those who are still leading us today. And so there's a whole level of accountability when it comes to that office, but it's not doing what I believe what it was intended to do and what it was purposed to do. I will say, as an active resident in the Chickasaw area, I can't say in the past 13 years what they have done in my very own neighborhood.
I wouldn't bother to grade them because I don't pay attention to them like that. I think what we need to do is stop waiting on government to do anything, to be quite honest about it. I think probably what we probably need to be paying attention to is that we need to stop going up into these groups or into these neighborhoods doing assembly program type work. That ain't getting it. Everybody's done something, and then they go home. That ain't no good. You know, and I think if I was going to really take a look at government from the standpoint of that, I did a fellowship one time in New York with the Harvard Kennedy School of Community Fellowships. And one of the things that came out of that for me and it stuck was that government does not need to be running programs. Government needs to be making sure that the people who know how to run programs get what they need to be successful.
Same question. If I had to give a grade, I really would say I would repeat what Dr. Wood said. I wouldn't give them a grade, but D's a passing grade, I guess, and but it would only be because they are doing something, and if you count something, you'll come up with something. So if that's their data, but I would give them a D because somebody has received help from their resources in some type of way. Somebody, I don't know who, but they're commercial, so you know. Revamp the staffing, like a lot of the panelists said, that it has to be credible, experienced people. You can't have a director to openly admit that I've never experienced violence in my life, be the director. So when you talk about chain of command, when me being a CVI trained, I've worked for all of them, whether it be cure violence or anything, and I was fired each time because I knew what my community need, but through the chain of custody and my supervisor having a chip on their shoulder and not liking the way that I relate to my community that you've never been in, then I'm disobedient, I'm cocky, I'm arrogant, I'm, what is that favorite word? Insubordinate. Yeah, I learned some new words working with them people that I was like, how not? And I thought this was based on, and the training that I had got from Cure Violence, CVI work, was that you had to use credible messages from the neighborhood, using their influences to try to mediate or intervene in any type of violent situations. But here it is, my supervisor never stepped foot in the community. I already know. Look, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and pass this. But before I started this work, the first year I went and supported everybody. If y'all ever seen me with a vendor's table, it was just me supporting. But for 6 months, I went and talked to Dr. Woods and definitely Mr. Norman. For 6 months, I went down to the neighborhood house and sit with them, talk with them, and understood what they got into before I got myself into it. So I'm trained to go.
Well, no, I was not. When I came to Metro Council, it was Office for Safety, Healthy Neighborhoods. Okay, when I came to Metro Council almost 4 years ago, and the people that were in the different spaces that they were in, my ass lit up, when they came in front of council. But also, I was concerned about, if they would fumble the ball, if they had been taken through different trainings, you know, actually how to function as a nonprofit with the amount of funding that they would be given. Basically, just not being set up, right? So then after after a multitude of years, I'm like, this ain't working. You know, Office for Safety Healthy Neighborhoods was one of my favorite departments when I first came on Metro Council because I seen so many people, one, that looked like me, so many people that had lived experiences, right? But they were under a department. So they had different guidelines that they had to abide by. They really couldn't move in areas like they would be able to move if they wasn't under this particular department. I also went and tried to talk to Office for Safety Healthy Neighborhoods in the L&N building several times, and their directors were not, and supervisors was not able to meet with me in a room by themselves. They were not able to answer questions. The director was trying to intervene to answer their questions, and I said, I'm gonna need you to let them speak. Yeah, I came here to talk to them just so I could get a better understanding. And then once the door was shut on me with not being receptacle to getting the questions that I had answered, I said, I don't know, I'm not supporting them no more. So it gave me a level of understanding why a lot of the other party, really was like, no, we don't want to support them, because I was one of the biggest supporters. Then they changed the name to Office of Violence Prevention, feeling like, okay, just give us an opportunity to make some changes that you want to see. I think before I came on Metro Council, they really did not have anybody, one, that really came from the streets, right? Nobody that's really lived it, walked it, experienced it, and been in the mix and admitted to it. So normally a lot of people that came in front of Metro Council, it was easy for them to get funding because nobody could go against them or nobody could question them because they didn't have no experiences, right? So when I came on, it kind of changed the game. So they changed the name. So when they changed the name, it changed a lot of different things. So the director changed, right? But even after the director changed, for me, and my experiences, it still didn't change much. So then I went on to say, and I just asked this question not long ago, where does OVP get their kids from? Okay, so they have a lot of case managers, and their case managers are told from the directors, go find you a caseload. So for me, if I'm a case manager, right, I'm gonna go find this kid, that kid, kids that are not related to me. But ain't no way that, I'm gonna be in their lives and I'm gonna go through their case files. But at the end of the day, that's job security. It just is, right? But it's still not giving us the solutions that we need for this department. So that's how I started to look at it. And then I started to really look at how it was structured. There was nobody director-wise that was there to be able to give them life and lived experiences, right? As a Black culture, we always give them our data. They send us out here to do the work, come back to give them the data while they make the six figures and they give the Black culture kibbles and bits. And we're okay with that. We're okay with allowing that department to dictate how we move when we know how we need to move in the areas where these events happen, right? But instead, we settle. We settle for saying, okay, as long as I get a paycheck, right? But if we come together, right, collectively and say, okay, we're not working for you. This is what we want to do. Either you work with us or the work won't get done, right? I want to tap on a little bit the goodwill, okay? They took funding from, they did, and they gave it to the goodwill, and no knock to Pivot to Peace, but I want to say this very clearly. If Office of Violence Prevention goes away tomorrow, then what? We're still going to be out here doing this work. If the goodwill go away tomorrow, hopefully Pivot to Peace will still be out here doing this work. These are just contracts. That contract can go away tomorrow, right? Those contracts only allow them to go in certain areas, right? So when we give up the data, so it's not Tammy Hawkins that said, oh, I don't want there to be a pivot to peace. I don't want there to be a Office of Violence Prevention. But what I want us as a culture to do is stop giving up our data, stop giving up our knowledge. We're giving it away, which allows the Office of Violence Prevention to write grants, to get funding. We can do that and empower ourselves to do these things. So basically what we do, we empower them to turn around to get the funding to pay us. And it makes no sense. So for me, that's the concern that I have. And one last thing, and then I'll give the mic to somebody else. Because I'm very passionate about that topic. I advocated for OVP to make some changes, right? To put different people that has been with OVP for years to come, right, in different roles that would impact to where they would be in a position to be able to raise other people up to where they was at, right? But you gotta be ready. Right? You gotta be ready when you got somebody like me when I say, why don't you put people in this space? Why don't you move them up? You gotta be ready when your calling time comes. Because if behind my back, you can't be saying, I don't know why she told them to put me in that space. If you wasn't ready, you could have told me. Right? So we gotta stop acting like we ready. And guess what? I wasn't ready when I came on Metro Council, right? But guess what? I got ready real quick. And then I see that I gave the pathway for other people to feel like that they was ready. There's no resume that tells you how to be a good director when you have life experience. Your experiences gives you all the resume that you need. Thank you.
Well, we're about to take a halftime break. And during the halftime break, Councilwoman Hawkins actually have a special announcement she wants us to make according to the election. And we're just gonna give a 10-minute break for our panelists, just to have a break so they can relieve themselves, refresh themselves. And it's getting kind of hot in here, and I'm not trying to cool it off. But we need a little break right now. We'll be right back in 10 minutes, y'all.
Hey y'all, I'm Attica Scott, former Kentucky State Representative, and you're joining me today on State Live Streams.
We will continue to provide updates as we have more information.
Kentucky State Representative, and you're joining me today on State Live Streams.
So today we're going to talk about elections, the elections that are going to be coming up. So I need everybody to understand that this year's election cycle is going to be very different and unique, okay? So a lot of times when we go to the polls, we see a D or R by the name of a candidate. What I want you all to understand that whether you're running for a seat or if you're going to vote, people need to know who you are. Whether you Democrat or Republican, that does not matter anymore. So there's not going to be a D or R. I know a lot of times, even I've been guilty of this in the past. I'll look and I'll check out Democrats. Anybody that's a Democrat. Well, you're not going to get that, right? So when people go to say, well, who is this person or who is that person? It is very important that people know who you are, the neighborhood that you represent, and what you're doing out here. Because if not, then when people go to look on that ballot, they're going to be looking for the name that they see the most. So when people say Tammy Hawkins is bringing out their podium, I guarantee you when people go to them polls, they're going to see Tammy Hawkins, oh, I know her, right? So this is just a little advice for candidates that are running, and also just a little advice for people that are going to the polls to vote. It is important that there will be no Democrats or Republicans by that person's name. So it is important that people know and be able to identify you by the work that you do in the areas that you're running for or the areas that you live in. See, who's doing the most work or, who, and what they're going to do. And this is just a little advice for those that are running. When people ask the question, well, what are you going to do? Well, what are you going to do for the community versus what somebody else is already doing? If I was you all, I would drive the district. So that way, when people go to ask you, what are you going to do? You've already drove the district and you already know exactly what you're going to try to do to make a difference in that area. So I just wanted to give you all just a few things just to think about when you run in and just a few things to think about when you're voting. Thank you.
Through every note, every performance, the arts connect us. The arts connect us through joy and through awe, bridging cultures and generations. From intimate theaters to the grandest stages, the arts bring us together, reminding us that we're never truly alone. When we experience the arts, we experience each other. Kentucky Performing Arts. The arts connect us.
Hey guys, before we get back to the live stream, I'm Tracy, the bartender at Southern Hospitality Bar and Grill, located at 3402 West Broadway. You guys got to come and check us out. You can call your order in, and the phone number is 502-822-1474. Again, I'm Tracy, the bartender at Southern Hospitality. Come check us out, guys.
Welcome back to the State of Black Louisville Violence Reduction Panel, Part 2. I had to take a little 10-minute break. We're coming back with Part 2. Hopefully, Part 2 be more powerful and stronger than the first part was. I think we're doing a great job, and I really look forward to the answers. Sir Friendly, Office of Violence Prevention, you retired police officer. I told you about what happened with my uncle that was a retired police officer. You've been there from the beginning when Ocean started. What did you think Ocean was going to be, and what has it turned into? Tell us your expert opinion of being a retired police officer, having this new arm in our community.
First of all, the police department doesn't have anything to do with youth violence. But because I had a youth group, a youth corps for 20 years, I know a lot about this topic. First of all, our city is totally responsible for the violence that we have today. Before they created this new office, there used to be the Office of Youth Development. And the youth development had its own money, but the city decided to take this money from the young people because they don't vote, and they made Operation Brightside. That's what happened with the kids' money. And so, since they didn't have the money that they used to develop young people, they made the Office of Violence Prevention. Now, I volunteered last year or the year before to be a street interrupter. And that's out there where the blood and everything is going down. I wanted to see what type of work these interrupters were doing. And since I'm a retired cop, I could judge it accurately. What I found out is that they had a script that they had to follow. They couldn't just go and solve violence, period. They wanted a certain demographic of youth to target, and if this youth was over here hurting and this youth was hurting, but in a different way, they wouldn't let you go talk to that youth. And for that part, I totally disagree. Violence affects us all differently, and it doesn't matter if you're hurting from being stabbed or shot, you still hurt. And they should get the aid that's required. And so the Office of Youth Development, in my opinion, if I gave them a grade, I would give them a B. And you say, why I grade them so high? Because they have a certain script that they are mandated to follow. And they're following that script. It's not reaching the folks that you're trying to reach because that script that they gave them won't allow them to. And so we have a council person here. She needs to get a hold to that script and see what it is, and she has the power to rewrite the policy to change that script so it can affect more people instead of what we presently have. Bring back the Office of Youth Development and give those kids the monies that they used to have. And since they don't have that money, they don't have all the programs that they used to have. And that's why a lot of these programs that you're talking about, like you just talk about them calling you insubordinate, that's because they're not developing young people like you are. You're taking them and you putting the soul back in these young people. They're got a script that they got to follow, and it's two different things. So if you're concerned about the child and bringing that child up right and heading them in the right direction, then the Office of Youth Development needs to come back, and that way they would cherish your organization instead of giving you the hassle they've been giving you.
Yes, and just to piggyback off of Sir Friendly C, just what he said, there's two different agendas. When we worked in OVP, we worked in primary prevention. Primary prevention is preventing the crime before it happens. Youth development, working with youth, probably elementary on up to high school. What we have successfully been able to do with Ocean in at least 6 different neighborhoods, with at least 6 different community partners that are on this table and in the audience right now, we have cultivated neighborhoods for the past 3 years doing primary prevention work. So when you talk about the crime has went down in these neighborhoods, it's because of some of those programs that we had. We didn't have the Office of Violence Prevention to go to when we talk about youth development. We did that ourselves. We lifted up each other, whether it was Divine Calling or Tech at Night in Russell, or whether it was Prominent Youth of America in Russell, me out in Newburgh, Taylor Berry. We worked with Smoketown with Hope by Hope and DJ John Q. All of these individuals have worked tirelessly for the past 3 years. Why? Because after 2020, when Louisville got millions of dollars on behalf of Breonna Taylor, nobody was focused on violence prevention. Nobody went, no black organization, major organization that could have funded some of these programs. They didn't do that. But there were several from us that went directly from protests back down to the streets to make sure at least our brothers, my brothers, I made sure they are now on city contracts, because when they started, they wasn't. And the ones that wasn't prepared to get on city contract, they still got a little bit more work to do. So they didn't get to get those contracts. Yeah, they may have funded us, but who else was going to fund these programs for us to do? Nobody, no Path Forward, no Urban League, none of those organizations did that. They're doing it now. And shout out to them, because they're trying to cultivate that so that we can get national funding, so we don't have to worry about city funding. But we do need our Metro Council people to get in there to change the legislation, change the policy. The programs, we got that. Just come and ask us and we'll tell you the data and that information.
Okay.
Venue violence has been a trending topic here lately. And hopefully you're familiar with Ordinance 113.
Mhm.
And I know you're running for Metro Council, and also you are too, Mr. Barker. I'm gonna ask you this question as well. And Councilwoman Hawkins, would you be interested in modifying or changing that Ordinance 113 to what would you do when it comes to Ordinance 113 when it comes to venue violence in our city?
The first thing I would do is make sure that the owners and operators fully understand exactly what's going on. And the reason why I say is because I went to a wedding one time, and a lady had got drunk and she left, and she wound up getting in a wreck on the expressway. And I wound up in a deposition hearing. Like, I don't have nothing to do with nothing. And when I sat in the deposition, I just paid attention to how many people was passing the buck around, how many people was passing the blame around to each other, to where it fall on to me. And I don't have nothing to do with nothing. So I would say, like, at the end of the day, I would hold the owners and operators to a standard of making sure that they understand everything that's going on with their business and facilitating what they have going on. That's what I would say.
So would you be interested in changing this law that was modified in 2024, March of 2024, or you just plan on keeping it the same?
I would definitely make modifications to it. The modifications would consist of making sure that things do change regarding that, so it's not looking like a systemic racism or whatever. But at the same time, I would still hold the owners and operators accountable for following the law and policies and procedures regarding that as well.
I'd like to ask you too, Mr. Barker, since you're running for office as well, when it comes to venue violence and Ordinance 113, I really want to make sure you and Councilwoman answer this question.
First of all, what you all have to understand is that violence is everywhere. When we have a shooting at a school, we don't close the school down. When we have a shooting at a church, we don't close the church down. When we have a shooting at a football game, we don't close the football game down. What this ordinance wants to do is hold the business people accountable, and they should. But it should be like anything else. given a period of time to investigate it, make sure all safety procedures were done. If that's done, then they got to have a mechanism that comes back through and said this company has met the minimum requirement and is allowed to reopen. But because the law has been written in such a manner, if you have one incident, you're closed. And see, we tried that with Kohl's. For those of us old enough to remember Kohl, they closed Kohl down because they said it was too much violence. Unless I'm mistaken, we're still having shootings in clubs, so it wasn't Kohl. So we can't have the mindset that it's always our businesses that are totally responsible. We live in a violent culture right now, and you can get shot anywhere. And so therefore the policies had to reflect a turning point to close it down, make sure everything was met, and then let them go back and make money and be an asset to this community.
Same question to you, Councilwoman.
Thank you. First, I want to clear something up, and that is that anytime you're dealing with ABC, okay, the state mandates alcohol. Okay, so when you talk about ordinances and stuff like that, it starts with the state level. Okay, and then it goes to your local level. Anytime that any club owner goes to court, they go to court in Frankfurt. They have to go in front of the state. Whatever the state says, the local just gives them recommendations on their thoughts. Okay, the state. So our state representatives would be doing that. Okay, so you solely rely on your state for those, for that ordinance. But then I want to talk about the clubs. I know, Sir Friendly C, you said that they close clubs down. That is not true. Okay, the procedure and the process of when a club, any club in the entire city, if there is a shooting inside that club, it is automatic. They have to investigate. They cannot investigate if the club is still open. So that is proper protocol. Okay, so they close the club down until the investigation is over. Once the investigation is over, then they go through a series of safety measures on what can we do to make the club safer, right? So if the club has a tent in the back, they'll make recommendations like, you can't use the outside for a while. So it's different levels before you open back up, right? And I agree with that level, because if someone loses their life in somebody's club, it needs to be shut down for a period of time so they can do their investigation, right? Once the investigation is done, the club gets a series of times to open back up and be a good actor. Now, the only reason that a club is deemed to be closed, period, if codes or ABC, and codes is the only department that can do this, deem that location as being a nuisance. So if they have multiple shootings, multiple incidents, then they will be doomed. They will be deemed as a nuisance, and then it will be put in for them to, be closed permanently. And then they still have to go to court, right? So that's the only way. Other than that, ABC here, you go through a series of times. So I mean, and I'm going to speak on this right now. Double Deuces is back open for business. I'm sure Club Cedar will be back open for business, but it is proper protocol that they have to be shut down immediately once it's a gun violence is on the inside of a venue. And if it's on the outside, no, they wouldn't be shut down.
Additional question to that question. Do you believe that ordinance needs additional language? Is it language good enough now? Because it's only been enacted since March of 24, right? And we just seen this happen to a lot of places, right? So I had deferred, I think other people had deferred that this ordinance is being used as a weapon, right? And it's like, what can we do? Is it something we just need to stay up on? Like,
Yeah. Well, I want to say this because I have learned from being on the other side of the fence and not on a city government, that the accountability piece, right? It's the accountability piece. You know, you're not going to open up a business and you haven't done your due diligence, you know, as a business owner, you know, because you do owe accountability to the victims or anybody that got harmed in your business establishment, right? So you just have to look at both sides. And as far as how it's written down, I think that the process, I believe in the process. The fact that it's affected our culture more, you know, it's just the nature of the beast right now, right? But I believe that if it happened in the East End, wherever it happened at, it's there. And I believe if and I'm gonna ask you, if your family member, and I always tell people to look at it as if it was your family member. If your family member got shot or hurt on the inside of a club, would you want that club to be right back open tomorrow? And they haven't even been able to get the tapes. You know, maybe they didn't call the police. You know, you have to do your due diligence before that business opens back up. And I will say that that store where the male students was going to, ABC pulled up right there and is doing an investigation on them right now as well. So if you got a liquor license and shooting or anything, violence happens on your property, ABC is going to come right in and start an investigation.
Some people don't know this. My father was actually murdered outside of a club in 1984. So that question kind of hits me kind of different. You know what I'm saying? Miss Smith, Miss Elgina Smith, what would you say? What would you say has been the most challenging thing? You know, after losing your son, right? And then, you know, going through that process and getting involved in doing this work, right? I met you years ago at Mending Hearts. You know, I'll never forget that. What would you say has been the most challenging thing of just being a normal, everyday person and getting involved in our community? Like, what would you say, what's really been the most challenging thing about that?
Identity for me. Before my son was tragically taken here in Louisville, Kentucky, I'm a born resident. And identity. I work in this community as a cosmetologist. I am very active, you know, religiously. And being a mother of a murdered child, immediately my family was a part of some bad, dark cloud. Like, how did your son get killed? You know what I mean? Like, I totally was ostracized silently and outwardly. So I wanted to become this advocating voice to show people that, yes, even in a two-parent home, me and my husband been together since I was 15 years old. I'm 48 today. We raised this child. We loved our child. We wanted him. We planned life around him being here, and someone still decided that his life was not important and took his life. And so carving the identity that, yes, life has happened to me, but I want to be better. I made it at his casket. I said, I'm going to live on purpose, with purpose for you, because you were not supposed to go before me. And as long as I have breath, I'm going to show you that you matter. And because somebody took your physical life doesn't mean that I'm not going to be attached to this one. And so the most difficult thing is separating that two realities can exist at the same time. I'm broken. I am living in absence of a child that I absolutely love. I was 18 years old in Southwick. The year that my son was born, 8 people were murdered, and it read on the news. The craziest year ever, 1996, right? 2015, he was the 8th person that night. So it has totally crushed me to know that I live in a reality that in this state that I brought my son home from has increasingly got worse. And then, you know, to be a advocating voice that wants to bring families that have been impacted by gun violence, because I understand, and it took a police officer. You've been a part of my whole life. You don't even know. You've been a part of my growing up, to come in and say, you know what, I know what happened to your son. He's been murdered, but how can we help you? They took my family to a grief camp. We was treated totally different than a lot of other people. Like, I accepted the help. And from the help, I'm better and not bitter. And now that I'm doing the work, trying to get people to not be bitter and retaliate is really the draw, because I'm having these community events. I'm having facilitations every other Monday with AIDS Healing Project. I'm doing the work. I'm writing books for you to, get some information. What is the most challenging part is somebody receiving the help, wanting to receive the help.
Mr. Clark, could you please pass the mic to Dr. Taylor? Dr. Taylor, what would you say? Like I said before, you've been out here longer than me. What's been the most challenging thing about doing this work in the community, man?
For me, I would say amongst us individually and collectively as groups, having a true intent on collaboration. I think that has been the true detriment for us as a community is we don't have a true intent to collaborate with one another. That has been our detriment, and definitely through my work, I would say. What does it look like?
What does collaboration look like?
Yeah, I would say for me, it's just you having a strong intent to work with work.
I'm so used to the opposite side.
But no, it's just having that passionate and strong intent to work with your fellow brothers and sisters, whether you know them or not, whether you like them or not. Do you feel you have an understanding that us coming together will lead us forward, and let's focus on that. I think we are lacking that intention of collaboration.
I think what we're doing right now.
Is this collaboration?
I'm saying what we're doing right now, all of us being next to each other, is a form of.
No, we're just talking. We're not collaborating.
Okay.
Sister Makula, what would you say? What's been very you've been in other places. What's been very challenging, specifically to doing the work here in Louisville, Kentucky?
Well, as I have lived other places around other black folk, I say funding racism and the pervading oppression that rests like a cloud over this city. That's the way I see it. Black folk do better in other cities. They do. That is just plain and simple. I often hear promising, creative black men and women who were born here talk of leaving this city for higher horizons. They fought the lack of opportunities and poverty. And do you blame them? Because I left the city when I graduated from college. I was ready to get up out of here. And if I stayed here longer than a week, I felt nervous. But I felt the call to come back because we have to find ways to uplift our community. But unfortunately, it's been a place of missions. It hasn't been a place to really live a productive and full life, especially as a black person. And we need to create a city that allows us to do that. I think that's what we need to work towards. A city where people can raise their families and they can have good jobs, or even there could be leadership in black business. That's the challenge, for us to just have a livable city for black people.
Yes.
I haven't always been involved in the community. Most people haven't, right? But how important is it for the community to listen to experts like yourself, so on and so forth? If I'm on the outside looking in and I don't know anything about this, how important is it for somebody to say, hey, this man's been doing this stuff for 30 years. I think we need to listen to Dr.
I don't subscribe to that particular strategy, and the reason I don't is because you have to try to come up with what works, and so we've got several misnomers in my mind that keeps that from happening. One is we got the idea that it's the place or the street that's the problem when somebody gets shot. No. The problem is you got somebody that wanted to shoot somebody and the target was in the club or the target was wherever it was. We don't shut down trap houses. We don't shut down nothing like that when someone gets shot in somebody's home. What we do is try to figure another way out. The other thing is that we got this idea that because we bring a bunch of people together, that's collaboration. No. Collaboration is in matter of fact, the best collaborators are the ones who understand coalition building. And coalition building is not a gathering or a meeting, it's a training. Folks have to come together, they have to go through the individual pieces, and then they have to come out of there with assignments. and report backs and those kind of things like that. The problem is, for us, is that we like talking about it more than we like doing it. And some of those cities that are so grass is greener, they get it. They understand from the standpoint of leadership. In Baltimore, everything changed. In Baltimore, while they was doing the wire and all of that, that's one thing. We went up there shortly after that, if I'm not mistaken. Me and Dre and some other cats was up there. And it was changing then because of the leadership. Once they started to invest in the CVI work, things started to change. But you got to accompany that with understanding that these blighted houses and this torn up and this systematic racism is the stuff that's got to go. I'm done.
That leads to the next question, Mr. McDowell. Talking about racism, in your opinion, how does racism play a role pertaining to doing the violence reduction work in the city? And does it play a significant role or insignificant role? And Dr. Wilson just set us up for our next question.
What does racism look like when you're talking about your own people being biased? So they don't got nothing to do with us. I don't even count them when you talk about black and white because they won't even really come into our communities. They're only relevant when it comes to funding. They're only relevant when they have the system, when they have the agency and the office, for lack of better words. But it's us who empower us. But when we being racist towards each other and biased towards each other and vetting each other on who is capable of doing this work because it don't look like your work, different perspectives bring about different change, and we need to change in all different aspects. So I can't answer racism because I don't look at it as a black and white thing because it's black first, and if black come together, then white don't make a difference. And that comes from, and I hate to go down this path, and I ain't no scholar or nothing like that, but I think segregation was the worst thing to happen with us. Because, yeah, integration, my bad, and I said I wasn't a scholar. But when we started wanting to live like white folks and we stopped looking out for each other, the bus boycotts and making sure we got back and forth to work, Tulsa and Rosewood and any other 9th Street divide had been going on because we depended on each other. Those things just got, in the history books, but we took care of our own. We came up with the village. And once we stopped doing that to get these jobs and work with these people who don't look like us, we started shitting on our own people.
Mr. Watts, racism, significant, insignificant role in your experience doing this work?
First things first, Michi absolutely hit the head on the nail or whatever it is. It happens to be that. Like, what does racism look like inside of our, the colorisms and all the things, the isms that we have inside our culture? When I seen the question, when I was looking over them before this, I was like, racism, ain't nobody up here white. You dig what I'm saying? So it's really all of those things. And for me, it's more about the accountability. Even back with the OVP thing, even with the Ordinance 113, they using it as a weapon. And we worried about that, but we using weapons to shoot each other in the head. And we ain't worried about the person that's dead. You dig what I'm saying? And if the person get killed in there and they did change the law, then what we gonna do about it? Who gonna post up and tell the club that y'all need to make sure y'all cousin ain't at the door? He don't need to be taking 100. Man, I had 100 pistols in 100 different clubs at 100 different times. And ain't nobody from the community come and say, "Look, bro, don't be doing that." And when somebody gets shot, ain't nobody go to the gangsters be saying, "Don't shoot them in the clubs." Ain't nobody doing that. We talking about all of this stuff, and we talking about grading OVP. I wouldn't give them a grade, because if I did, then I would give us a lower grade, because how many times in our history did the government come and take care of us? Why we ain't taking care of us? It's always a crisis in leadership. We continue to look for people to help us turn the mirror on the inside. Why is it that we don't come together? Why is it that my name is Lil Dre? I've been working with Dr. Eddie for 30 years. I'm with him all the way. I love my community and all of this stuff, but why have we not seen any coalitions? Why, when the people was ready, the leaders weren't ready? You dig what I'm saying? So all of that stuff, I think it's more impactful for us to take accountability and look at ourselves like, what are we going to do? All right, we know what OVP is. It's a government organization. It's going to run the way it's going to run. Now, why we didn't come together and make sure we got this data and they going to give us the money and then we going to use it for what we use it for. It be simple for real. We be crying. We be crying because we want somebody to come and save us. And that makes me think that they trained us well. And I ain't one of them people. You dig what I'm saying? I want to say the truth. Anytime that we on these panels and we talking like this, I want to make sure we understand the first accountability is ours. My son go shoot up that damn banker. He go shoot up the school. They gonna come check his daddy. How was he raised? And I say the same about our culture. What are we doing? Where is the black men at? Where is the young women at? It's always the 40 and 50-year-old women. Where are the young women at that got the beautiful smiles that can make a young brother want to pull his pants up? Where are we at doing those type of things? Where are the big strong men? Where are the super gangsters when the little girl get touched in school? Why ain't nobody pulling up? Where y'all at? What we on? And damn OVP, all of us. You know, that's me. My bad. My bad. Shit.
It seems like some coalition building is coming.
Yeah.
Between now and 2026, and I'm all for it. So this is actually the last question, y'all. I want y'all to, really, this is gonna be the last question we ask. We're gonna start off with the councilwoman. We're gonna work our way back to Mr. Barker. And if somebody asks you today, what is the state, the mental state of Black Louisville? What would you say? What would you say Black people are in Louisville, Kentucky in late 2025? Where are we at?
You asking where we at as a culture? You know where we at? I feel like that. I definitely feel like that we're behind. I definitely feel like that we're not united enough. I feel like if we become united, we can, we can definitely be a force to be reckoned. But it comes with accountability. It comes with stop feeling like that we got to be hired by people, right? We can empower ourselves to be able to thrive and be able to grow. So I think once we do that collectively, then I think that we empower ourselves and we can be powerful as a unit.
I would say that people are isolated. And I think that, Mr. McCullough, when you were talking about people leaving, I think that's really the state that we're in, is that we are in a backwards, it's like something in the water when you think about Louisville. And I think in order to shift that, we really have to start focusing on what we want to grow instead of focusing on all the, the things when you think about dominant culture versus communal culture, they're focusing on the things that they don't want to grow, right? Office of Violence Prevention, right? Versus safe and healthy neighborhoods. Like there's the power in words. And so, I mean, if you look at Hip Hop in the Park that happened this summer, they had like 300 folks in Alberta Jones Park, right? Kwanzaa's coming up. We have the Village Lou. We have the Play Cousins Collective Family Network Group in Facebook. I mean, I think that that's the hardest part, and it is almost scary to think about what would it look like if we were to flourish and to thrive and to support each other, And I think that when you look at our culture, we are supposed to believe that we have innate value. No matter what car I drive, no matter what job I have, no matter what I've done, there's nothing I can do to divorce myself from my own innate value as a person, right? And so because we're accepting somebody else's ideology around value, we are constantly in this, I'm isolated. I have to constantly prove to you that I'm valuable, right? That's why we have the issue with, collaborating for real. Like Cities United was here last week. We were, all here. And I think it's important to think about like the fact that food justice, housing, parenting, we talk about what is and what is not violence prevention. And it's like, no, all of that is violence prevention, And I think that's one thing too, is that we are constantly talking about, who gets to say this or that, or who gets to be at the table, who's important. And we're all important. We need people, and, y'all got to do what you do, and I have to do what I do. And we're both needed. You know what I mean? And if we're not at the table together, building coalitions, if we're continuing to compete with each other, that's where you're going to see, that's what's in the water,
Yeah. That's a great segue. See, that's why I mess with you, boy. Nah, but yeah, I'm with you with that. People always gonna be mad at something. You know what I mean? And that's what we seen with our culture. But the state of black culture now, I like what Tammy said. We're behind, but I also want to make sure we do focus on some of the positive things, because we always talking about what ain't, what is. I went on YouTube one day and I was looking up, and I just YouTubed. I said, "What is right with the black culture?" And ain't nothing pop up. And I was like, man, what? Dr. Eddie, I'm like, it's some stuff that's going on this right with our people. And I know that. But while we behind, we are healing though. You dig what I'm saying? I'm an individual. My number 25, 30, 70. I ain't going back no more. This is progression. Everybody say if it's just one of us, I'm one of us. You dig what I'm saying? Tammy's one of us. Dr. Eddie, Michi is one of us. So many of y'all are one of us. So we are healing. No, by no stretch of the imagination are we healed. But we are doing these things. We're doing emotional intelligence programs on Mondays and Wednesdays. Bring your kids by. We're doing therapeutic growth and change on Tuesdays and Thursdays with justice involved youth. Dr. Eddie, I've been talking about it, doing prevention for the decade since I got out of penitentiary, since 2017. This is what we've been on. So these things are happening. We are healing. We're starting to recognize things. You know what I mean? And that's what comes when you have accountability. Those who can accept accountability have the higher likelihood to be successful in life, because then you can pivot. Damn, I was wrong right there. Let me see what he knows. Oh man, that wasn't right. Dang, let me see what they know. You know what I mean? And put those things together. So while we are behind, things like this also gives me hope, and it's going to make sure I wake up next week when things get hard, because my mission is to wake up every day, make sure the world is a better place because I'm in it. Me and my friends, this is the whole play. And I think if we continue to pass that on to young people, then we're healing. We ain't gonna never be healed because this world is what it is. But I think we're on an upward trajectory, man. Just continue to empower one another. And also let's find the good in things rather than all the issues.
I want to say hopeless. And I only say hopeless because it's scary to see how social media has taken a life of its own. I'm watching how anybody can be famous if you go viral. And the push every day is to do something more brazen, coming out of your character to be noticed. I see how the training goes on monetizing to get your page up. They actually give you descriptions on how you got to post more, how you got to engage more, how you got to do more things to get pennies on the dollar. So when you got kids who are seeing streamers become millionaires, this is where the black culture is at to this day. And Louisville specifically is almost like a follow the leader type of city. Any one of us can hold an event, and if it ain't popular and a popular person is throwing it, nobody's showing up. I don't do what I like to do because everybody ain't doing it. So that's what I think what me, Dre, Hope by Hope, Bosses Not Bangers have, is that you are finding yourself as an individual. What do you like to do? Stop going with the masses, because as a boss, you have to think individually. And it's just something anybody can relate to, where you're talking about a boss baby. But I think self-identity, self-awareness, emotional development, we don't have that because social media is telling you that you don't look like this person. You don't act like this person. We're not going to like your post. We're not going to share your post. You ain't popping. So when social media tell you ain't something, those red and blue buttons mean something to people nowadays. You looking, but you ain't saying nothing. They don't like when you look at their page and don't engage with it. It's validation now. So it's almost hopeless but it's not hopeless if we just have to make it lame. You know, as a culture, we have to come together and point it out. When you sharing these videos for recognition, not to get your followers up, you actually spreading violence and normalizing violence when you do it. And you're missing the whole picture. So I say it's hopeless, but I don't want to say it's hopeless. But I see where trending is leading us down a rabbit hole. And it's just a new way of mentally taking over the black culture. At first it was the rap music, now it's social media, and we're not equipped to deal with it.
Can I add real quick? I'm sorry. I wish I would have said, I know Dr. Woods, we're on the path forward. I mean, so many of us on this panel are participating in the path forward with the Urban League and the plan that's being built there. And I know that they're looking to recruit more folks to that team. And I think that, I think that we all have to find places to be. And I think that's a part of humility that's missing in our community, right? I know that the work that I'm doing is not all the work to be done, but we have to find our lane. And I think that we have to give organizers, all of the organizers at the table, to figure out where to be at.
When you're a fossil, you've seen a lot of things change. And so what we used to not talk about some of these things we're talking about now. So we've moved that needle a little bit farther than before. We're having tough discussions and talks, so that part of it. But the one thing that's going to always hold us back, and that keeps holding us back, is we are seduced by positions. We're seduced by dollars, likes, comments, all of those kind of things like that make us want to pay attention to nonsense. So I think as far as the state of Black Louisville or whatever title we want to give it, I think we all right. We just got some work to do. We're all right. We just got some stuff to do.
Okay. Well, thinking about the answer to that question, of course, I had to do a little research. I'm a teacher all day. So it says, I did a little research. How can you mentally handle a war zone? That's the way I saw it. So war violence exposes individuals to extreme levels of stress, fear, and trauma. These experiences can lead to a range of psychological issues. This is what we're dealing with right now. From anxiety and depression to more severe conditions like PTSD. The constant threat of danger and loss of comrades or family members, and in our case, loved ones, can create an overwhelming sense of hopelessness and despair. We're wondering who's going to be next. The most pervasive effects of war is the development of PTSD. This condition can manifest in various ways, including flashbacks, nightmares. We don't know what people are dealing with. Severe anxiety and uncontrollable thoughts about the traumatic event. Another significant aspect of the psychological toll of violent communities is moral injury. This occurs when individuals are forced to act in ways that conflict with their moral or ethical beliefs. You touched on that, Demetrius, leading to intense feelings of guilt, shame, and inner conflict. So that's my response in regards to what I think is the mental state of some of those who are dealing with this war zone that has to do with the violence in our community.
Wow. I would say that we are in a state of delusion right now, and I guess I would match him that we're hopeless with hope, and I think that's where we're at right now. I think nationally and locally as Black people, right now we're experiencing our third Reconstruction. Our first Reconstruction was right after slavery, second right after civil rights, and we're doing the aftermath of DEI. And so there's intentional acts to regress any progress that we are making or have made. And so I think that has making, coupled with our own issues and that outside issues making us more delusional as a people. But there is some hope that if we are to look at our past and learn from our past, that we can begin to come together to address those issues. And that we can get into a state of competence and confidence. I think we lack a lot of confidence in the community. We're very, very cocky, but we lack confidence. And so we need to build up our confidence back in the community.
All right. All right. So for me, the state of Black Louisville, as I always do, try to look at the positive more so than the negative. There's a lot of great things, y'all, that we have done and that we are doing. Louisville is building infrastructures. Nonprofits are working together. There are coalitions that are being built. There are great things that are happening. And oftentimes, you know, working with violence prevention, or even working with youth, they want you to just have the negative always. And sometimes we need to be inspired, you know. So I'm appreciative of the national work that has been put in, because a lot of us just don't sit on tables in terms of violence prevention. A lot of us do national work. A lot of us do work inside of JCPS. So we are having wraparound service and we're building infrastructures. But I also want us to pat ourselves on the back. Because we're the leaders, you know, the leaders, whether they was in the civil rights, whether they were former leaders, former cops, we are the future. So let's change the narrative of the state of Black Louisville. Let's change it. Don't keep posting about we not working together. Don't say that no more. Because that's not true. You know what I mean? We have the power through our social media. All of us are influencers. Before we got our titles, we was somebody in high school. We was somebody in these streets before we got our titles. But we have the power to change that narrative. The Facebook, change the narrative, start talking about the great things that are happening. We don't got to dwell on our past. Everybody on this table got a past. You just might not know what we did. We might not just got caught. You know what I'm saying? But each and every one of us got a pass in violence. So again, my hope for the future is to continue the conversations. And even if we don't sit at the table together, knowing that we are all for the greater cause, knowing that we are all for a better youth, a better balance, you know, in our neighborhoods, we are all got that same goal in mind. So long as we just keep that in mind, whether or not we collaborating on separate projects or just showing up to support one another, let's continue doing that.
I would like to say it's last week I went to Cities United, and it's like 99.9% Black people was there, and I didn't hear none of these conversations in their rooms. All I heard about was empowerment, nationwide empowerment at that. So when she's saying like we don't need to be talking about all the negative stuff for real and talk about more about the positive stuff, these people went from raising, I think they said $5 billion to $42 billion. So we, in our communities, we have doctors, lawyers, judges, nurses. We have all of these different things available to us. The question is, like, as individuals, we all have to hold ourselves accountable. We all have to work and acclimate ourselves to different levels. But I agree with reaching back. I agree with helping, pulling everybody along. And I also agree with holding everyone accountable. Like I said, when I was there, I was very inspired because it's a whole room full of people. I was sitting at a table with like 4 people I didn't even know. And when I left with information and contacts and things like that, just from sitting there, of them wanting to inquire about who I was as a person. And they wasn't even from Louisville. That was from another city at that. So I would say, again, like we do have to start pinpointing and identifying exactly what we do have that's beneficial and not sit over here and be like, woe is me, or having oppressed conversations when we can pull our own selves out. Every last one of us is CEOs, business owners, and things like that. You didn't get to be no CEO or be your business owner from not educating yourself, from not putting yourself in positions to grow and develop. That's what we all have to do as individuals, flat point blank period. So to have oppressing conversations, I get it, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I can identify a lot of people that's doctors that have their own businesses, their own practices, law firms that have their own practices. And I can't sit over here and act like those people don't exist in society because I'm not personal friends with them, or I'm not in the fraternity, or I'm not in the Masonic Lodge. Like, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? But we can't sit over here and act like these things don't exist for us to all acclimate and thrive.
Absolutely. And I'm going to make mine short and sweet. The state of Black people are woke and aware. And you can take it however you want to, because we are woke in so many different areas that can make a tremendous difference in so many areas of our life. And then we are aware. there's a lot of things that we're aware of, but people are not ready or willing to do what it needs to do to change the meter on that. So if we just take the woke and put the aware with it and then do the work, we'll see a different Louisville. And that's what this whole panel of people are doing. We are woke and we are aware of what needs to be done. And so if we start to do it together, we'll see the change that we want to see.
The last answer, y'all. I want y'all to give yourselves a round of applause, right? I would say this, out of everybody that's on the panel, the person I've been first and been doing the longest is Mr. Ray Markle. So I'm really glad you're able to close us out. Just take your time and just let us know in your expert opinion what's the state of Black Louisville with all your years of being out here. Mr. Lugo, before you answer that, I wanna thank you. Okay.
In my opinion, the state of Black Louisville is both passive and strong. We get mad for a minute and we show up in numbers and then we calm down. We get mad for a minute, then we show up, then we calm down. When we get off that roller coaster, when we get mad and stay in place, Louisville will change. And that's why I said strong, because you guys are strong. We are strong. We got to understand that there's a lot of variables that went into conditioning us. And we got to wash all that stuff off of us, because most of it is lies that's been fed to us. And that's where the internet has been a great tool, because a lot of this information our younger folks have been able to read and said, I didn't know that, and I didn't know this, and I didn't even know this about my hometown. And they're discovering that these lies have been what's holding us down. So if we get rid of the passive and just veer to the strong, which we always have been, you're going to see a changed Louisville, because we are resilient and we are unified. We just stop being so damn passive and let's get the work done.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's online watching. At first, I want to thank Mr. Lamont Collins for letting us use Roots101 to have this event, the State of Black Louisville, the 6th installment Violence Prevention Panel. I want to say thank you to everybody that came out. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. I love y'all. God bless y'all.
Give us 1 second. Give an announcement. We need to give this announcement real quick.
Violence committee, the Violence Interruption Committee at the Goodwill, November 17th. That's Monday, November 17th, starting at 6 p.m. This will be our third conversation. Fourth, and our last conversation will be next month in December, but 6 p.m. Monday, November 17th at the Goodwill Opportunity Center, man. Slide on through if you got an opinion, you want to sit down, you want to meet people, and also don't forget that individuals matter. You don't just have to be an organization. Really, we must get the individuals out. So come on out there, voice your opinion. We'll be at the Opportunity Center Monday after next. Next Monday.
Can we respect people's time and let people get out of here, and people can find that out later? Please, y'all. We've been doing real good. Yeah. We gotta respect people's time.
I know people don't want to
Never in my career as a lawyer.
Please step to the side. We have to be quiet.
Why is everybody like? Why is
Hey y'all, I'm Attica Scott, joining me today on State Live Streams.
We will continue to provide updates as we have more information.
Kentucky State Representative, and you're joining me today on State Live Streams.